Welcome everyone to our session today on funds and grants for digital growth. I'm your host today, Munir Nawab, and today's topic is how to raise funds, mostly from grants from the government, and how to use that funding towards driving digital adoption within your company, whether that's some kind of technology or software or digital marketing. So that's what we'll be covering today. And I'm going to introduce myself in a moment. But before I do that, I also want to introduce our two speakers for today. We have Francis and Ronan. So I'll let each of them just say hi right now. Come on camera.
Hello.
Hi, Ronan.
Hello there.
And we have Francis as well. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to allow each of these fine gentlemen to introduce themselves. And then I'm going to tell you a little bit more about myself and tell you more about the CDAP program in particular, which is a particular grant that we're focusing on. And as well, talk about my companies. And then as well, I'm going to turn it back over to Francis and Ronan, who are going to talk about some of the other grant opportunities that are available and that you might want to take advantage of. Then we will open it up to the audience. We want to have like a discussion. There's a few people that I want to also shout out that are on the call today. So I see that we have Daniel on the call. We have Ali on the call. So these are some of my associates and my colleagues. So I want to give them a chance to also to say hi to everyone and talk a little bit more about what they do, and as well open it up to the rest of the audience as well. Love to know who else is on the call and what it is that you do. You might have a service as well that you offer, perhaps in this digital space or some other kind of service provider, and you might want to let other people on the call know what you do and how you can participate in all this. And we'll be talking about that. You know, some of these grant programs, obviously, people need to spend that money. You know, that grant money that they raise, or these interest-free loans that they get. You know, there's many people that are needed in this ecosystem. So happy to have those conversations as well here today. So I will go ahead then and first I'll give a brief intro about myself, and I'll go into more detail about my own introduction in a moment when I give my presentation. So my name is Munir Nawab, as I mentioned, and I'm the founder of a digital agency by the name of Crowdlinker. We have close to 30 staff across the country and around the world. And the company primarily focuses on digital projects of different kinds, software development, everything from large websites to custom software, mobile apps, and things like that. Also had a lot of focus in digital marketing. We have a digital marketing division, Crowd Digital, which I lead as well. So have a lot of expertise and focus in all areas of digital marketing, from paid ads to search engine optimization to funnels and the whole bit. So, and we've gotten involved with the CDAP program over the past several months. And we have advisors on our team who are able to walk you through the whole process and to create the digital adoption plan, which is necessary as part of getting this funding. So we'll be talking more about that in a moment. So next, I will turn it over to Ronan. If you can go ahead and just give a brief introduction, and then we'll give you more time later to speak about some of the other grant opportunities.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for first of all hosting this and for that introduction. Munir, my name is Ronan Benin. I am based in Toronto, and I am a serial technology entrepreneur. I've been building tech companies for the last 12 or so years. I have lots of expertise in building enterprise and consumer SaaS companies, biotech companies, prop tech, and I've advised clients in a variety of other industries. I have raised a substantial amount of arm's length venture capital and angel investment, and I've raised an equivalent amount personally for my companies of non-dilutive funding through grants, subsidies, tax credits, and other government incentives. So I look forward to this conversation. Thanks.
Thank you. Francis, go ahead.
Yeah, so my name is Francis, as well, entrepreneur for 15 years. Started off in the film industry, actually, and then moved into tech startups. Multiple time founder, have sold a company and acquired a company, as well as similarly raised a lot of grant money. And then I started to really enjoy helping other companies to do grants. And so now I have a grant company on top of my other SaaS companies. And we're helping people. So, and doing everything from smaller companies to quite large, $10 to $20 million type grant projects, and putting consortiums together of companies and hospitals, universities that come together in innovation projects. So can go from very complex to simple. So happy to contribute to the conversation.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that intro, Francis, as well. All right, so now I'm going to take the floor and talk a bit more about myself and particularly share about CDAP. And I think also Francis will be able to speak more to CDAP afterwards. So as I was mentioning, I'm the founder of a digital agency called Crowdlinker. I'm going to share my screen as well with you so that I can demonstrate what it is I'm talking about. So Crowdlinker is a digital agency. We do all kinds of software development, everything from marketing websites to different kinds of digital products, to innovation products with partners. So some of the companies that we've worked with include companies like Shopify, Maple Leaf Sports, NBC Universal, all big enterprises that you probably heard of, as well as a lot of scale-ups and startups. So scale-ups like FreshBooks and League, as well as startups like Yumba and Sessions, IntroHive. So we do all kinds of different software development for them, and done some really cool projects. We have close to 30 staff across the country and around the world. Everyone from product managers to UI UX developers to software developers and whatnot. So very well equipped to help with any kind of digital product development or innovation sort of work. And then we also have a digital marketing division. So we have great expertise in digital marketing. Crowd Digital is the name of our digital marketing division, as well. Worked with a lot of well-known companies that you probably heard of. And we focus on paid traffic, so Google ads, Facebook ads, organic traffic like search engine optimization, social media marketing, and creating marketing automation systems, landing pages, so the whole 9 yards. So between the two divisions, we're very well suited for any kind of digital product. And so, really feel fortunate and blessed to be here today to share this information with you and to be part of the CDAP program in particular, because pretty much anything that you could think of to use the funds for, we could help you with. Now, let me talk a bit more about this particular grant program, I'm going to share a landing page that we've created, which explains it a little bit more, how it works. So it's a total of up to 115,000 in funding. And the way that's broken down is as follows. So this is a program through the federal government. I'm going to play this quick video here from the government website, which is very, very generic.
Boost your business's bottom line with new strategies and technology supported by a network of advisors. Benefit from expert advice, meet your customers' needs, and get up to $15,000 in grants. Apply now.
So very brief video there, but the way it gets broken down is there's this $15,000 grant. And now this needs to be used towards the creation of a digital adoption plan. So you would do that with one of the advisors on our team. And what they do in that plan and through that process is identify what are the areas where your business could use help on the digital front, whether that's internal or external. We'll talk more about some of the uses in a moment. And then help to create a plan and identify what are some of the solutions that would help meet your needs to make your business more effective and scalable when it comes to digital technology. Now, this grant money basically needs to go to the digital advisor. Usually the way it works is that you don't pay anything out of pocket, but then once the plan is ready and is submitted to the government, then the government will reimburse you, and then you pay the advisor. Now, there is some flexibility in terms of like what we can add on top of that, but for the most part, all that funding has to go towards that plan. There are other things that we can talk about doing, like make it more lucrative for you. So if you want to have those sort of conversations, reach out to me or someone else on our team, and we can have those sort of conversations to see what else you can do to make this grant funding meet the needs of your company. But just to be clear, this isn't like a $15,000 grant that just goes straight into your pocket or that you can use for something else. It is meant for this digital adoption planning process, essentially. Once you have this digital adoption plan and we submit that to the government, then you will get approved for this interest-free loan through the BDC. So this is between $50,000 to $100,000, depending on the revenue of your company. And this is interest-free, so there's no interest payments for 6 years. In the first year, there's no payments at all. And it's then you have 5 years to pay back the rest of the loan. So it's spread out over 6 years. And this is meant to be used for any sort of digital projects or digital innovation, digital marketing. Essentially, the things that we would identify in the plan, this money would go towards that. Now, there is a fair bit of flexibility on how you use these funds. So don't think that you're completely tied up or locked in. So keep that in mind as well, that you're not necessarily locked in or have to use the funds in a very specific way. So that's another conversation that you can have with us. We can explain to you more on how you can use these funds. There's some other aspects to it. There's also a wage subsidy program that comes with all of this as well. We can tell you more about that if you want to set up a call later. And as well, I'll talk to you about the application process. So as I was mentioning, first you would engage with groups such as ourselves, and we would help you through the application process. So you go onto the government website, which is what we have up here, and then we would walk you through the process of creating an account, confirming your eligibility. Basically, you need to connect this account with your CRA account. So you do this on your own, but we can walk you through it. And then it will tell you if you meet the eligibility requirements. I'll talk to you about those in a moment as well. And then you would then engage with someone on our team, would draft up a contract with you, and we would create your digital adoption plan within about 1 or 2 weeks. Once you have that, then you can take that, we'll help you to take that plan, submit it back on this government portal website, and you should get your funds for the digital adoption plan within a couple of weeks or so. And then as well, be invited to apply for that $100,000, up to $100,000 in BDC interest-free funding. So that's a little bit about how this government site works. And yeah, so once you're approved, then you can actually start to implement that money as well. You can start to spend that money, and we have a lot of partners in our network, people that can help you in all areas of your digital adoption. If we're not able to do it, we have other people in our network who are able to help you with all kinds of things. So what are some of the eligibility requirements? So first of all, it needs to be a Canadian company, a corporation, or a sole proprietorship. It needs to be privately owned, for-profit entity. It can also be a social enterprise, but it needs to be a for-profit company. You need to have between 1 and 499 employees on payroll. So you need to have at least one person on payroll other than the owner. So that's an important thing. And one of the most important points, you need to be doing at least $500,000 in top line revenue. So this is in one of the last 3 tax years that you have already filed. So as long as they have on record that you filed a year where you reported over $500,000 in top line revenue and you meet the other eligibility requirements, then you should get approved automatically through the government process, through the government portal. And you should find out right away. In some cases, you might be sent an email afterwards to confirm your eligibility, but in most cases, it seems that companies get approved right away. What can you use the money for? So uses of the grant. So a whole bunch of areas within digital marketing. And so this screen covers that. So everything from your website, social media marketing, search engine optimization, and pay-per-click marketing, email marketing, creating a CRM or updating your CRM, customer relation management software, different kinds of online marketing, creating a digital marketing plan. We have some clients that are engaged in that. And then this area is very broad, productivity. So this includes a whole array of different uses. So it could be anything from workplace collaboration software, like project management software, ERP software, enterprise resource planning software, like something like a NetSuite or a SAP or something like that. Odoo is one that a lot of companies are using. So anything to kind of help with the back-end fulfillment within the company, a POS system for your company. So there's all kinds of uses for the funding and the project that you could use this funding for. And so it doesn't matter if you're like a tech company. So if you're already a technology-focused company, you probably already have a lot of uses for digital. And this could just be one more source of funds for you. If you're a more traditional brick and mortar company, for example, then many of the items that I mentioned probably would be of great help to you in your company. Okay, so we have some frequently asked questions. We'll leave these probably to the end. So if anyone has questions, we'll cover your questions live as well. So that's a brief overview of the CDAP program. So I'm going to put a link in the chat here, and then we'll put it up on the screen at the end of the session. But basically, if you want to reach out and book some time with me, if you think that your company qualifies, or you have some clients that you think would qualify and might be able to use this funding, go ahead and book some time with me in my calendar, and be happy to I'll be happy to walk you through this more, or have someone on my team walk you through it a little bit more detail for you. All right, so there's my link. Now, with that, I'm going to turn it over now to Ronan, who's going to speak about some other grant opportunities that are available to you.
Thanks, Munir. Yeah, happy to talk about some other grant opportunities. So I'd like to sort of start by talking about what we often see with our clients. They typically approach us around their year end when they're filing their taxes. And they tell us, hey, we've done a whole bunch of stuff over this past year. And we think that we might be eligible for some tax credits or grants or something like that. Can you help us? Right? And so we look into their documentation, and lo and behold, yes, they've invested in a lot of different things that could have been grant fundable over the course of the year, but they've missed the boat on a lot of those. And so what we end up helping them with is with their SR&ED, so their SHRED grant tax credit applications, and those are fine. What we really encourage clients to do is to build out a non-dilutive funding strategy as an extension of their dilutive funding strategy, especially if you're a tech company, at the start of your year, so that you can understand what sort of programs you could be eligible for, how you can maximize your return from these programs, and what programs can be stacked and what programs can't be stacked. The programs that we have the most experience with and that are quite lucrative in particular are IRAP. That's a really big one. IRAP can cover up to 80% of employee salaries engaged on the project. We also do quite a bit of work with BioTalent Canada. So if you're a healthcare, a biotech, biomedical company, anything within that vein, BioTalent Canada is an organization that readily provides grant funding to these types of organizations. And we have a great relationship with them. We've gotten just under 100 applicants approved over the last 5 years through their various programs. So we've had lots of success with that. And there's a plethora of other opportunities that are available in the ecosystem that are specific to different industries. If there's a project that you're interested in doing and you're not sure if your project would qualify for a specific grant, the way we work is we do a consultation, right? No risk consultation. We look at what the project is, who's involved in the project, how the project's being funded, and then we make recommendations on what's the best sort of non-dilutive funding strategy for this project. We explain how long these various sources of funds take for the companies to actually get. When these grants and subsidies pay out, because there are some programs that pay out on a monthly basis, whereas there are others that pay out at the beginning or at the end of the program. So that's really important to know for growth stage companies, especially when they're concerned about cash flows. And then we scope out the project, not just in a silo, but we explain how working on this project will affect the company's tax return at the end of the year, because that's something that's quite important. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Ronan. It's great information, and definitely, yeah, we've used many of those programs at my companies, particularly at CrowdLinker. The SRED SHRED program has been great over the past many years, and it's one that a lot of companies maybe don't realize or think of, especially non-tech companies, right? So there are definitely a few companies here on the call that are not tech companies, but really, you can start to think about how to use technology in your business, and even just a great way to fund some some digital development. Like some of the people I know who are on this call who reached out or got into our community because of CDAP, but maybe they don't quite qualify because they don't quite meet that $500,000 threshold. But if you start to think about your company more as like a technology or an innovative company, right? And you start to think about some of the stuff that you want to do in the digital front, you can really get a lot of funding from the government to help fund that and to fund your development. And maybe Ronan, you can speak a bit to like what are the percentages that companies are getting back for SR&ED these days?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to do that. I will preface by saying that SR&ED is revenue as well, right? It's like non-taxable revenue, but it's revenue from the government. And we have worked with companies that I think would actually be great candidates for the CDAP program, and a good chunk of their revenue is from SR&ED. So, Munir, I don't know, does SR&ED revenue count as revenue when looking at the CDAP program? That's something that you might be able to answer.
Yeah, that's a good question. I believe I have the answer to that, but I'm wondering if actually Francis has a better answer to that.
Yeah, I actually think the answer is probably yes, because they're very clear. It's gross. So, you know, it's whatever is in, if it was included in that portion of the tax return, like your company could be operating at a huge loss and it would still qualify. So like anybody who just hits the mark or even thinks they're close should apply. And honestly, even if you don't get auto approved on the website, they have a manual verification process. So you can just show them, hey, like here's my T2, I've got 1 employee. So regardless, it's worth it to go and go through the process. And absolutely. I want to just say, I think we should let them ask some questions too, if they have any, before I go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll really quickly talk about the SR&ED, sort of what SR&ED could fund. So SR&ED will fund up to just north of 60% of salaries, of technical people salaries, right? So that's quite lucrative. Companies that are creating physical goods, that are using materials in their research and development process, SR&ED will cover about 40% of all materials consumed, and included in that is shipping, duties. So a lot of companies need to import goods for prototypes, for instance, from out of the country. That's all eligible for about 40% coverage under the SR&ED program. And contractors or consultants that are working on SR&ED related tasks are eligible for about 1/3 of what they charge. So all in all, when you put that together, that's quite a lucrative return.
Yeah, and that could include, you know, companies like ours, for example. We have a lot of clients that hire us and apply, and so yes, Aaron asked a question. Ronan, your company prepares SR&ED claims, right?
Yes, that's how our business started. We started with helping companies build strategy for their SR&ED, right? We file SR&ED claims, but what we like to do most is to help prepare strategies for SR&ED so that companies know how they should be spending their dollars over the course of the year to maximize their SR&ED claims.
Yeah,
but absolutely, we prepare SR&ED claims.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret as well. So when we have a contractor, when you have a consultant that's based in Canada, in some cases, not only can our client claim SR&ED when they're paying us, but we can also claim SR&ED on some of the work that we're doing, as long as there's not a direct overlap. But see, a lot of the stuff that we do, that we're spending our money on, that we're hiring our staff for, is like we're creating our own internal capabilities and our own innovation so that we can serve you better. And basically what that means is that there can be some money on the table behind the scenes that you might not know about, that your consultant might also be benefiting from some of these tax credits and whatnot. So keep that in mind. So you might be able to, depending on how innovative and how your project is structured, there might be more opportunities for you to leverage some of these grants. Yeah, and so any questions now for Ronan in particular on what he shared? Anyone in the audience? Do you want to raise your hand, get on camera, or just shoot your message question in the chat? Yes, Sable.
Hi, Belle. Yes, thank you guys. This information was great. I did want to ask, like, I don't know who else is in the group is part of it, but I haven't reached that benchmark or close to in my with my business. Do you guys have any programs or offers or support for people and for other grants that are for like like new businesses? Give or take, I think I'll be in the definition of new businesses, new revenue.
So, well, first I'll say for Shred, there's no revenue requirement. So that is one that you could take advantage of. But I will say the thing with Shred though is it's a tax credit. So you won't get the funds until like it can take like a year or so on average, right? Because you have to wait till the end of your tax year and then file it. So it takes many months for that whole process. So you might have to be kind of creative with that if you want to use that as a funding source. But also, Francis is going to talk about some other programs as well in a moment.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Any other questions for Ronan?
Or seed up questions, I guess, too, because I don't want to let the information get too far out of mind before they have questions.
Yeah. Any questions about seed up as well?
I
Yeah.
have a question.
Yes. Go ahead.
It was more along the lines for CDAP, I imagine. I had tried to apply for one of the grants that is available. And I ran into, I guess, like a roadblock, you could say, in regards to getting the grant, which was in regards to the GST, HST portion of it. Now, we're a small business. It's a family-owned business, automotive, in the automotive industry. We are registered, like we are incorporated, and we're registered with our GST. However, I guess when they looked on some site, they couldn't find us. I contacted the CRA about that, and they said that they've been getting some calls about that where people are looking for people, but they're not finding them. Long story short, we were unable to actually get this grant because of it. However, everything else lined up. So I guess my question is just for the CDAP going forward, for something like that, is that something like if I wanted to go for this bigger one where I can get, one of you guys to help me implement some more digital processes, would that kind of hinder me with getting that one as well?
So again, like there's actually manual verification now. So you can set up an appointment where you like bring your T2 and share it with them. And so they don't have to find you on the CRA. Like you just have to be able to prove you've hit their numbers. And there's an actual email we can share. So like if you've already applied and got denied, we can give you the email to send them and say, hey, I'd like to request a manual verification for this. And then they'll take some time to like set up an appointment with you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great. Any other questions so far on anything we covered?
I have a question for both Francis and Ronan. I have a client who is filming a documentary in Mexico and is looking to get some funding from angel investors. Is that something either one of you can help out with that?
I think, Francis, did you hear that question?
Yeah. He was asking about angel investors. So I personally am more on the grants side. Ronan would maybe have more experience on the angel side. My 2 cents is It's a very like there's a bunch of angel groups all over the place, and you can apply to pitch for them. Is a decent way, because they kind of gather together at events where they all invest. But it is hard, like some grants are very high success rates, so if you go through the process you're going to get it. But with the angels, you're going to talk to like a lot of people, and it's basically angel dating. That's my opinion on it, but I'll let Ronan pitch in into that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've raised a good amount of angel funding. Angel funding is very different than grant funding. I'd say angel funding is quite essential for scale ups at the early stages of their business. And the way I like to work with my clients is, if I have a network of angel investors that I've worked with, that have invested in my business, that have invested in my clients' businesses. If there's a fit, right? If I know an angel invests in a specific industry, or invests in a specific growth stage of a company, and I'm working with that client, I'm more than happy to make that introduction to that angel. I've worked with angel groups as well. My preference is to work with individual angels, much more so, just because angel groups take forever to make decisions. And when you're building a startup or an early stage company, you don't have time to waste, right? So you're much better off targeting either high net worth individuals who have relevant expertise in your space, and make sure that you have your deck ready, know your key numbers, and have a clear explanation of how you're going to give them a return on their investment.
Perfect. Thank you. I'd love to connect with you and share more information. I have all everything you just there. We're already connecting. I'm trying to expand more, give more access to more things about this. As you said,
Sounds good. Munir, will you be able to make our contact information everybody's available at the conclusion of this recording?
Yeah, so we'll throw up your contact info, but in the meantime, if you want to put it just in the chat.
Sure.
As
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want to put your contact info in the chat, and then we'll throw it up on the screen at the end as well. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes left, so we want to try to run through these. I see Kay has another question. We'll get to that. There's also a question here from Aaron. If a developer engineer is in South Africa and is being paid by Canadian companies, does SHRED cover non-Canadian contractors and consultants? The prototypes are being done there.
I'm happy to take that question. If it's a contractor that's strictly doing digital contract work, remote, not in Canada, then that contractor would not be eligible. However, if the contractor is building a prototype, right, or is building parts of a prototype, then that prototype is eligible, like for the 40% coverage under SR&ED. It needs to be very specifically documented. There's certain things that the CRA looks for if they were to do an audit. And in order for it to pass an audit, there needs to be a very specific way you document it. It can't just be a contractor agreement. There needs to be a description of the prototypes or the materials that were created for that project by that contractor. But yes, that should be covered under SHRED.
Prestige, would you like to ask your next question?
Oh, yes. Sorry, it was just quick. Just in regards to like the email for CDAP and maybe the other links for the other grants that maybe, startup businesses and small businesses can apply to. Will that be sent out via email, or will that be something that you guys will put in the chat?
We'll do both. We'll send out an email as well with our contact info. Okay, and this video also will be on the invite. So recording from today's session will be available on the actual invite in your calendar.
Okay, perfect.
Presuming you use Google Calendar. All right, any more questions before we move on? Okay, so I'd like to give Francis a couple of minutes as well to speak about some other opportunities.
Yeah, I'll run through this really quickly. So just gonna pull up, I had a list here. So I would say at the stage, I would say everyone on here is likely a bit smaller business. So I want to give you some smaller business, super high success rate grants. Can Export, SME, and Can Export Innovation just opened. It's an excellent time to get into those while you are, you know, at the beginning of the program, so that you can, because they actually close when they run out of money. So, and a lot of these grants are that way. Like they'll be open, and then they'll say when funding is closed, or they'll have certain deadlines. So you're actually going to want to keep like a calendar of grant deadlines and as part of your year. But Can Export, both of them just opened, so they've got a full fund, and they're going to grant more people at the beginning and grant higher amounts. That's 50,000, up to 50,000 towards export marketing activities. So basically, you're trying to reach another country, and you get to specify 4 regions worldwide that you want to go after, and then you can spend it on contractors only. So, you know, marketing contractors, any sort of contract you're using. And honestly, even if you're doing just general marketing, you're going to be fine. There really isn't a ton of compliance. So you just have to be able to show, hey, I paid this contractor, I have an invoice, I paid them that invoice out of my company bank account, and they were doing a marketing activity, or a business development or a sales activity to help expand my company. Can Export Innovation is similar, but with a innovation partnership project. So those two I think are really great, and the limit for Can Export is only 100K. You have to have had 100K revenue, so it's a lot slower than a lot lower than the CDAP. Yeah, there's lots of great wage subsidies that people don't know about, which are super easy. So if you want to hire like students or recent grads, you can go after something like the TOP program or Magnet SWP or Will Digital or ICTC. You can get up to 7,000 per person, and those are fairly simple. Like they're not amazing, but they're pretty quick turnarounds, and they're not super hard forms. So I'd say for smaller businesses, people should really take advantage of any wage subsidies that exist, as well as like a Can Export program. And then obviously the last one, which Munir wanted me to touch on, was called COJG, so the Canada Ontario Jobs Grant. So it's if you want to get training for your employees. Doesn't matter what size you are. You can get 10,000 per employee, 10 to 15,000 actually, and even people you haven't hired on yet, but you want to get them trained so that they can come work at your business. The caveat is you have to find a trainer to do the work, and there's a few ways to structure this one, but it's closing in Ontario March 31st. So I put that as a priority if you want to get it in before then. But in other provinces, it's still open. It's just as funds are available. So smaller ones, I strongly recommend like looking into, once you're further down your grant pipeline, some MyTax research projects are pretty cool. And these are all very high success rates. So all the ones I've mentioned, like, as long as you're eligible, you're going to get it. It's not like one of those things where it's like, oh, I'll cross my fingers and hope. You fit the criteria, you structure your application properly, and you will be given the funding. But you got to prepare for the fact there's a lot of admin, there's compliance involved. It's like, are you ready as a business to take on the amount of work it's going to take for what you're going to get out of it? Hopefully that's helpful.
Okay, great. And thank you for that, Francis. And can you share your contact info? I'll put it on the board. I already shared the board here, so if anyone wants to click on that, I'll put it up on the screen as soon as we're done speaking here. Questions? Prestige, you have a question?
Yeah, just for that COJG program. I know you said something that we would have to find the trainers ourselves for that. Would the obviously, like for in Ontario, the Ontario colleges and universities, would that count as finding the trainer in regards to letting our employees go, like say to Centennial for a auto body course?
Yeah, so yeah, that would totally be fine. And the trainer doesn't have to be like an institution. It can literally be another company who has enough experience training in a specific skill that your company needs. So yeah, you can do it with so I just did one, for example, like there's one dog training company who does like dog walking and training, and they're being trained by another dog training company who does teaching. So you know, there's those types of possibilities. And you can get up to, I believe, 200,000 or 300,000 total if you were to do like all your employees and you know, extra employees. But if you go over 25K, you have to like get matching quotes and things. But if you just do a small one, it's pretty quick. So yeah, it's a really good program. A ton of companies in Ontario have done it. Sad it's closing, but yeah, I would jump on that if you have the time.
Amazing, thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think we have time for one more question, maybe one or two questions before we wrap up. Anyone else?
I'll add one more grant actually. Canada Summer Jobs. That's every January, so they usually open. There's a very small application window, so put it in your calendar. It's like usually the window opens January 1st to January 25th. Very easy program. Like you can get, so it's for people 30 and under. You can provide an 8 to 16 week job opportunity, and they'll fund 50% for profits and 100% including EI CPP for not-for-profits.
Yeah, and what's the dollar limit for that?
It's gonna change every year, but usually it's only like 5 to 10K per person. 5K for the for-profits and 10K for, it's an hours thing, so they'll pay you 15 per hour at like a certain amount of hours per person.
Okay, awesome. All right, any other quick questions today? Okay, so I do want to give a chance to shout out a couple of people on the call, but before I do that, I just want to talk about some of our upcoming events, and I just want to encourage you to keep coming out. The theme of our events every 2 weeks, they're going to be around how to raise funds for digital, how to raise funds for different areas of your business, because some of the funding sources that we're going to be looking at are not going to be restrictive, or not just for digital initiatives like we already covered. We're going to be looking at some different lending opportunities, so we're going to have an expert on that as well in an upcoming one of these calls. And as well, we're going to be looking at the uses of that funding, particularly in the digital realm. So in the next session, so we're going to be doing these every 2 weeks. So the next one will be on March 23rd. We'll have a topic. We're going to be focusing on local. So we're going to be talking about local businesses. We're going to be looking at as well search engine optimization, how you can use that to improve the digital marketing for your local business. And so that's going to be a focus area of ours. And we're also going to be doing some of these events in person, and we're going to have receptions in person. Right now we're planning sessions in Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal. So if you're in those areas, definitely keep on the invite. If you're already got this, you're probably already on the recurring invite, but you can also spread the word with your contacts and people you know. What else can I say? Yeah, definitely stick with this process. You know, my company, we raised almost $1 million in grants in our first couple of years from different sources. So it was a huge benefit for us in initially growing our company. You know, later we went on to do millions of dollars worth of sales, but those grants were really instrumental in getting us going. And then obviously we've done probably millions of dollars worth of shred and other sorts of tax rebates and whatnot over the years. But just these grants, the grants alone in this country have been really helpful to us. And so, as I mentioned, these sessions, we're going to be doing them every 2 weeks. Couple of people on the call that you'll probably see in future sessions. So I want to give them a chance to say hi. So we've got Ali, who's our SEO expert. So he's on the call, and so I'll give him a chance to say hi. And also we have got Daniel Souza from AKR Consulting. They also do grant writing. So if they're on the call, give them a chance to say hi. And also Nazar, I think you're on the call as well. So he helps with different kinds of grants as well, but also private lending. So if any of you are on the call, I'll give you a chance to say hi as well.
Yeah,
Hello.
hi. Sorry, Danny, do you want to go first?
No, it's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'll just go. Hello, everybody. So yeah, I've been working with Crowdlinker as well as Munir for many years. I'm an SEO consultant by trade, and I think I have a presentation coming up shortly to cover some of the things that I've learned over the last 8 years about local SEO. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with everybody on the call.
Yeah, almost out of time. So Daniel, make it quick. You want to say hi?
Hey everyone, I'll just keep it short. Work for AKR Consulting. We handle grants, rebates, tax credits, subsidies. A lot of the conversation that we've had this afternoon around a lot of those programs. We're really in, we have a team involved in all different sectors: tourism, entertainment, food process. You can say that we have a team that's really in all different industries. So again, looking forward to getting connected in the future and hopefully being able to elaborate on other programs that we haven't discussed.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so we're out of time. I'm putting up the contact information. Thank you, Ali. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing. And thank you, Francis, and thank you, Ronan, for joining us. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us today. And like I said, the next event is going to be on March 23rd. I'll put that in the Jamboard as well. March 23rd, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you at the next event. Take care.